Hey guys, welcome to episode 24 of the Dash Gamer podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Brendan White. Hello.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here in a semi-permanent capacity. It is so exciting.
That's it. I know, right? How good is it?
I've been camped out the front of your house with a makeshift tent, just waiting for the call up, and here we are now. Obviously, border restrictions have eased, so
Yes.
I've able to get in without having to sneak over, sort of in the guise of darkness. And I'm excited to be talking to you and talking some video game news, man. It's going to be a good day.
Oh, so you're the Camry outside the front that's been the bright purple camera.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. You might hear some strange noises coming from it of a late hour because it's myself and the dogs in there.
Oh, fantastic.
Do not call the RSPCA. They are well looked after and well fed, but it's snug in the back with three of us. So that's the noises.
Fantastic. Oh man, it's going to be so exciting, dude. I can't wait to get into this episode. So guys, if you didn't know, this is the Dash Gamer podcast. It's our bi-weekly gaming podcast where I sit down with all the boys and talk about the latest in the world of video gaming. Don't forget to follow us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. It surely helps us out. Brendo, housekeeping, have you got anything for us?
Housekeeping for me. Let me think. The Hungry Game Show episode 15 drops in the next couple of days, which stars yourself taking on Persona 5. So maybe you guys could check that out when you're done consuming all this Dash Gamer content.
Definitely,
see how Dashy does against Persona 5 and all those evil adults. So it's probably the main thing.
All right.
Outside of that, released my own form of currency.
That's
got coins.
awesome.
Got coins, couldn't have done it without some of your handy artwork there. I'll see if I can pull this up to the camera there.
It's half the shirt on this one. Yeah,
That's it. Yeah. The man Dash helped put that together many moons ago, and now we've made it into our own currency, so we're going to become a global superpower. But
fantastic.
Enough of that. It's Dash time. What about you, man? What's housekeeping for you?
So dashgamer.com, I've got quite a bit of stuff that's gone up within the last couple of weeks. Harvest Moon 1 World review, thanks to the kind folk over at Nintendo. Ease 9 Monstrum Nox, thanks to the kind folk over at Bandai Namco, along with Fallen Legion Revenants. Bravely Default 2 review, thanks to the kind folk, once again at Nintendo. Nier Automata, this is an opinion piece. Nier Automata is the best game you haven't played yet. And Gaming's Toughest Heroines is also a feature piece that we have up, along with one that's just fresh. Bethesda, Xbox, and the Butterfly Effect. We're going to be talking about that during this episode.
I love that movie.
Yeah, a lot of people do. And later in the week, we'll have a first impressions of the Xbox wireless headset, thanks to the kind folk at Xbox ANZ for providing a review unit on that one. Brendan.
Yeah.
Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the news.
Let's do it.
All right, so the first bit of news comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says, and this is one of the big ones we're going to be talking about, PAX Australia will be back this year, and here are the dates. He goes on, PAX Australia has confirmed that we'll be back as a live event this year. The convention will take place at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre from October 8th until October 10th. The company has confirmed that tickets will be limited initially to reflect the current restrictions of the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre. The team hopes that these restrictions will ease in the lead up to October and more tickets will be available. They've also confirmed that those that buy tickets from interstate will be able to have their tickets reimbursed if the situation changes and they can't travel due to border closures or quarantine restrictions. Obviously, it's impossible to know what the COVID-19 climate will look like in October, so it's really hard to know if this will actually go ahead. But everything is crossed that PAX will be able to have some physical presence in 2021. We'll keep you posted. Yeah, and while I was preparing the show tonight, PAX actually tweeted out an update to this, this is from the official PAX account on Twitter. They says, geez, you can't stop flooding our inbox. We'll tell you already. Tickets on sale, 23rd of March, early bird 3-day, limited quantities available at $170, early bird single day at $65. Tickets will be limited to the capacity of the MCEC at each stage of the ticket release. And also, tickets won't go available at an awful time like midnight or anything like that. So that's cool of them to confirm that. But Brendo, so before we began the show, I alluded to the fact that I kind of have some concerns.
Yeah, you've got I think you've got a bit of an axe to grind here. So grind away, mate.
I don't know if this is the right thing to be doing yet. I know that there are a lot of people who are excited about PAX getting together and socializing and everything. As somebody who obviously lived through the Melbourne lockdown for the entire 6 months, it really was... it was a deadly game, to say the least, and really it kind of makes me feel a little anxious to know that, no offense to anybody interstate, knowing that we're going to have a swarm of people coming from interstate coming to Melbourne. You know, we don't know what, we don't know the climate for October. Obviously, it could be better than what it is now. We're doing real well in comparison to the rest of the world, where we're on top of this, but it only takes one to change that. And unfortunately, that's a circumstance that, honestly, I wouldn't want to risk for myself, for my family's health, for anybody else, because I've seen firsthand the impact of COVID-19 and what it can do to a person. This is really a risk versus reward kind of deal. And right now, I don't think it's worth the risk, considering the fact that they can't get international people in to visit and present their wares on floor. It's pretty much going to be PAX Rising, some panels, and 1,000 people can only be in the building at one time. At least that's what it is right now. So
yeah, it's like I can see some positives and negatives for it. I think the positive obviously is it's a welcome distraction to COVID and everything else going on, and the fact there wasn't a PAX last year, and yes, there's this crazy pandemic still running rampant. But I'm with you. Like, it's pretty crazy that all these people are going to ascend on Melbourne, and they the security and the ground staff at the convention center and the PAX employees and the volunteers and everything, they'll do all they can to enforce social distancing and everything else. But that they can't be everywhere the entire time. Correct. So that, coupled with, I guess, just the genuine sense of unease in people in general already about being in crowds, I think it's a recipe for potential disaster. And like, it's still very fluid. Like, things could change tomorrow and this could get postponed and it could shift to a digital event or just be kicked out of the calendar altogether, depending on how things go, because we got winter coming up, and that's usually the spike when these things really can take hold. And who knows where this thing's going to be in a few months' time. I hope that we've still got it under control. Like, we've done pretty damn well compared to the rest of the world, but it is worrisome. Maybe they're going to put an asterisk on this thing where once these sort of COVID shots are starting to get circulated around, maybe they mandate that's maybe a necessity to get into this thing. Maybe that's something they're going to put in, but obviously that's going to depend on legislation and things like that too. But it's sketchy, and you can see on social media a lot of people in our respective gaming circles. I'd say there's like 70% are keen as a bean, can't wait, dates locked in, but there's that 30% where they're like, I'm going to wait another year. I don't think we're ready for this. Let's just slow our roll here. And I'm sort of somewhere in the middle. Like,
same.
I love PAX and I love the socialization aspect of it, but that's one of the big killers for sort of bringing COVID into your house is through socialization. So it's like, do I go? Do I not go?
After PAX, and you
PAX Pox, man.
That's right. You are like patient zero usually on those kind of things. That you catch those things like no tomorrow, man. So it's one of those things where right now I kind of sit back and I go, and I was discussing this with Ryan Betson a couple of nights ago, that with the PAX Pox that happens after PAX this year, it's gonna. I literally was thinking about it the other day, and I thought it might be insensitive to tweet this out, but I was gonna tweet, "Man, the PAX Pox is gonna be interesting this year." And Betson was like, "No, I think you should say something because like he's keen as well, but he's also reluctant at the same. So he sits somewhere in the middle as well." But he professes his love for PAX and wanting to be there because he needs it, like as in just for mental health wise, it's something that's good for socializing. But once again, you got to think about the fact that how many staff members are they going to be able to fit in a building? How many people are going to be able to attend? How many media and press kits are they actually going to get out, into the wild this year. I doubt there's going to be that many. It's going to be very restricted.
And then the other layer on top of it is the amount of hands-on demos that people play, like, you know, playing VR or a headset or a controller. I don't want to be touching this controller after Joe Schmo in front of me sweated all over it or left skin residue. Like, you know, there's so many things that you don't think about or you didn't think about prior to COVID. Like, obviously, we try and be as clean as we can, but that now has to be dialed up to 10 million. So then they need extra staff because they need people just on these stands pretty much 24/7 just cleaning these things down. And then the queues are going to get worse because it's going to be slower traffic through because they've got to do a wipe down and a clean
every time.
And so it's going to be a mess, I think, overall. Like, it's cool that we've got something to potentially look forward to, you know, touch wood, but it's going to be a different beast, and people need to sort of comprehend that now. Like, instead of going there for this 3-day event, paying $170 for a 3-day, you know, early pass, and not being able to play all these games because you're stuck in longer queues due to, you know, hygiene requirements. You just got to slow your roll and just be prepared for potential disappointment or not the packs you're used to. That's the realist in me. You need to think this is going to be a whole new beast.
Yeah, and that's something that, like you said, that's the realist in you. I can't look at it. The problem with me is I ride on high anxiety, and I'm always a realist, and I kind of look at it and I go, man, yeah, cool. I would love to attend PAX in person for once with people. You know, like I obviously haven't been since 2014, I believe. And, you know, I would love to attend in person, but the fact is, the major factoid is coronavirus being present, and we can't escape that right now. Regardless of a vaccine being rolled out or not, they've even said it's only 94% effective. There's a 6% chance that somebody's carrying it without knowing. The asymptomatics are around carrying without even knowing. So it's like, it only takes one. It takes an unvaccinated person, and then in a large gathering like that, it spreads like wildfire. And I don't even know if the government has even like surveyed this and said, hey, what is this and what's going on, and why is there a mass gathering happening at the exhibition center now? And, you know, like, it seems out of the realm of Dan Andrews' wheelhouse at the moment to kind of be like, yeah, cool, go ahead, because 25% of attendees can attend the MCG at the moment for the footy, but I don't really understand how an indoor gathering works in that scale. You know what I mean? So I think the overruling factor with a lot of this is the Vic government need to try and inject as much coin into the local economy as they can. So, like, it's a risk, and no doubt it's a calculated risk, and they've got health experts saying, okay, this is the amount of people's per square meter, and how are you going to
deal with that? Police that,
yeah. How are you going to police that?
Yeah. Like, it's all well and good that you know, PAX Australia sign off on this, but yeah, once people are in the doors, you know, it's the Wild West in there. Like, people are running around everywhere. Like, you think of all those crazy hype giveaways they have at like the PC peripheral brands, and they're like, you know, do the shout out, do this, and they're fucking slinging mouse mats everywhere. Like, you can't be doing that this year.
Shout out to Audio Technica.
Yeah, shout out to AT. Love you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be weird, but it'll be interesting to see what happens around October time, if we are able to go ahead with it or not. I mean, look, I hope it does for the sake of people who love to go there. I personally have made the call and the decision for Dash Gamer that I won't be attending, as in I won't be applying for a media pass. Not because I didn't want to this year, or like I feel like I can't this year, because I've made progress, and I believe I could. But the thing is, it's just too much of a risk right now than out of that reward. So I just can't see it being safe. Brendan, let's move on to next. Sorry, go on. What are you going to say? Were you going to say something?
I was about to say, just like in closing, like, it's not just a risk for yourself. It's your immediate circle around you. Like, right. I go, or you go, or John Smith down the road goes. He brings COVID home, then his family gets it, his partner gets it, the neighbors get it, people at work. You know, it's not just a singular effect to you or I. It's just that ripple effect that impacts an entire community. So yeah, we'll see how it goes though.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll see. Anyway, we've got how many months? About 5-6 months away. So We'll see what happens. Brendan, the next bit of news, I bet you're excited about this one. This one comes by way of Engadget. K. Holt over at Engadget says Bethesda is now officially part of Xbox. He goes on, only a few days after gaining approval from regulators in the US and European Union, Microsoft and ZeniMax Media have made it official. The parent company of Bethesda Softworks is now part of Xbox following the completion of a $7.5 billion deal. The deal adds 8 more Xbox studios to Xbox's portfolio. The deal adds 8 more studios, that's right, to the Xbox portfolio, including ID Software, Arcane, and Bethesda Game Studios. It remains to be seen which games developed by those studios will be exclusive to PC and Xbox, but there will definitely be some titles that won't make their way to PlayStation, Switch, or other platforms. And we'll get into that in a second as well, because there was a statement put out by Phil Spencer. But
oh yeah,
what are your initial impressions of this deal being finalized and how things are now going to pan out in the gaming sphere, I guess?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, now Microsoft can gatekeep certain titles, and it's like, well, every mainline console, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, they've all got tentpole titles that they don't want to share with anybody because it's a hook for that platform. You know, you've got your God of War, you've got your Nintendo, you've like with Mario and stuff like that. They're titles that are never going to jump to these other platforms. If they do, you know, it'd probably be long after I'm dead. But yeah, I think this is a good get. Like, overall, like I know we're going to talk about some of the stuff that Phil Spencer said in a minute, but I think Xbox and Sony, they're running two different races, and they're sort of going down two different paths. Where Xbox are focusing on this Game Pass model, where they're just they're trying to be the Netflix of video games. Yeah. Where Sony, they're doing their own thing, and they're doing it really, really bloody well. Like they're the undisputed kings of that sort of console war, and they've got some of the best games in history in their portfolio. But yeah, I feel like they're just starting to sort of delineate a little bit. One's going east, one's going west, and it's just overall, I think it's a win for the gaming community as a whole. Before I guess maybe we start diving into some of that other stuff that Philly Spencer said, but I think it's a smart move. Like, it's a lot of money, $7.5 billion USD. So we're going to see things over the coming months shape that sort of brand of that house of studios to be more Microsoft centric. But when you're throwing that amount of cash around, obviously it's going to go that way, because you want to get return on investment on like over 10 billion Australian dollars. So I get it.
Yeah, we might even see some improvements in terms of the titles themselves, like the franchises themselves that we haven't seen before. Elder Scrolls has now the potential to be even better than what it was, like with Skyrim. The money that Microsoft could potentially pump into these titles have an excuse to keep them as exclusives to Xbox Series X or S and PC. They will basically say, hold on, there's a reason why these are now exclusive to our brand, is because we're firsthand giving money to Bethesda. And, this is part of that reason as well. Like Wolfenstein will probably see a bump. Doom will see a bump. It's going to be massive. There's going to be massive implications as well. But it's one of those things now where I see ZeniMax basically trying to pave the way for more of these bigger studios to kind of not fall in line, but accept some sort of offer if it ever is proposed. We could see other third-party development that is not tied into or not devout or devoted to a single platform and make their way to Xbox or Windows or whatever. I mean, like being the JRPG fanboy that I am with Atlas, Atlas obviously have history with PlayStation and Persona, but they also have history with Nintendo. But they have almost little to no history with Xbox. But it could surprise us, because now with the Forbidden Door open currently with Atlas and them kind of looking and surveying the entire gaming industry right now and saying, hey, maybe we'd make more dough if we were on PC and Xbox and everything else, And so they're considering their options now, and they're like saying, okay, if Xbox could turn around and go to Sega or Sega, however you pronounce it, and say, hey, here's $5 billion for Sega, I don't think Sega will turn around and be like, no.
Yeah, and that was a rumor kicking around before Christmas that Microsoft digging in that sort of Japanese market to try and find a couple of studios.
For Sega.
Yeah. And it like at the end of the day, Dash Gamer, 8-bit, Hungry Jacks, whatever, like if someone comes along with a big enough bag of money and says, yo, we see all this work you've done, well done, let's take it to the next level, let's pay you for all your hard work, you can, remunerate all your staff, pay out bonuses, here's several billion or whatever it is. Like you're an idiot if you don't have that conversation. Like,
no, of course.
That's the key to succeeding in business is like, you want to build a business up and then you want to sell it at a high and then you can go build another one up. Like it's...
Well, yeah, it's capitalism 101, obviously. Yeah. And, venture capitalists in America turn around and obviously buy out these companies. We see that with, Rooster Teeth and their acquisitions of many studios out there. The prime example being obviously Kind of Funny and Game Attack and everything else. It's one of those things where within the gaming industry, it's you're stepping on eggshells a little bit because afterwards you can kind of dissipate those relationships that you had with other parties, and then afterwards that's a risk. That's a risk in terms of wanting to actually develop for those parties later on. But
I think just as long as Tencent isn't involved purchasing these companies, like if it's your Sony, your Microsoft, your Nintendo, I think they've got enough positive karma in their back pocket to justify when they're buying these studios. But if it's Tencent or the evil Chinese overlords, that's where it's like, oh no, what's going to happen? But like, you need to put food on the table. So if the offers come.
Let's talk about the article that ties into this one. This one comes by way of Tom Warren over at The Verge, who says the Xbox boss Xbox boss says Microsoft's Bethesda deal was all about exclusive games for Games Pass. He goes on, Microsoft completed $7.5 billion Bethesda acquisition earlier this week and initially hinted that, quote, some new titles in the future, quote, would be exclusive to Xbox and PC players. That some language left some wiggle room for the possibility of future Bethesda titles to appear on Sony PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, or elsewhere. Now, Microsoft's Xbox chief Phil Spencer is making it very clear why the company paid $7.5 billion for Bethesda Xbox Game Pass. He goes on, speaking during a Bethesda and Xbox roundtable event today, Spencer revealed that Xbox Game Pass is at the heart of this Bethesda deal. Quote, if you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is that this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists, said Spencer. Quote, that's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building, end quote. Yeah, and as they say here, it's not a surprising admission. It's not.
No, not at all.
The $7.5 billion, of course you want exclusives on your unit. The language there that he does, highlight is where Spencer says some. Now, and then he goes and says there's some wiggle room. I'm like, I'm pessimistic about that. I don't think there's going to be any wiggle room in the future. I think that Xbox are going to try and keep those services behind closed doors, especially on Game Pass. They'll want people to subscribe to Game Pass as much as they can to also make a return on their investment. Because right now, it's 20 million subscribers on Game Pass. Mm-hmm. They can return investment. So 20 million by 10, I think equates to like 2.5 billion a year or something like that. So right now, it's going to cost Xbox 3 years of time to actually have a return on their investment. So in saying that, there is no chance that I can see in the future that Spencer would be like, oh yeah, we can publish games on PlayStation. It would be viable in terms of making more money for publishing those games on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But they want people to go directly to Xbox.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get the full slate of all their famous, well-renowned IPs being just held under the Microsoft banner, PC or console. I think we'll get a couple of crown jewels. I could see the next Elder Scrolls being an Xbox and PC exclusive, or maybe Starfield. But I think games like Wolfenstein or Dishonored or something like that, that they're unit movers, but they don't have that same name overall as, say, an Elder Scrolls does. Like, I think it's probably the crown jewel in the cap, the old Elder Scrolls, and maybe Fallout, and then you've got your Wolfensteins, everything else underneath there, which will do well. But I think they want one or two difference makers that people play Skyrim or all the previous Elder Scrolls games still to this day, and they do constant reruns through it. And like, if that's their only game, they go, holy shit, I need to now buy this on my buy an Xbox or get it on Game Pass PC. So I think they'll have a couple because, like that 7.5 billion, they want to try and make that back.
Oh, yeah.
As quick as possible. So if they still do play nice a little bit and gives Sony with in the PlayStation 5 access to a few of these titles, like there's still some ongoing legalities in the back end as far as contracts that were signed. Like you see, Deathloop still getting done and Ghostwire Tokyo with the timed exclusive accesses and things like that. And there's probably more of those legacy agreements in the back end that we'll probably hear about closer to release time on some of these games. So I don't think they're going to completely close the gate straight away, but over time, I think it's going to become a bit of a funnel where they're going to migrate as much as they can to the Game Pass ecosystem, but still have a few games out there that do pop up on the other platforms.
Yeah, and this is something, it's an intriguing kind of factor here that I would... We've already seen Xbox's relationship kind of with Nintendo be very chummy in the past with, the whole Minecraft thing and just even other titles that have made their way over to Switch like Ori. So there is that potential there to have Game Pass be a thing that becomes an open service across multiple platforms. And it wouldn't surprise me if there were some I covered it in my feature piece. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some conversations being made right now between, Nintendo and Xbox, at least right now, to have Xbox Game Pass be available. Whether it be, a direct streaming service, kind of like how they have Hitman on the Switch and it's a streamed game and everything. But for PlayStation, I don't see it happening at the moment. There could be, a conversation opener that could be between Spencer and Holst to kind of get that going at least. But being a Japanese manufacturer, being a Japanese gaming development studio as well, PlayStation Studios, it's well known. It's renowned that Japanese development studios are traditionalists and they don't like to kind of go off path and try something different here. And to me, as a fan, that kind of concerns me a little bit as well, because I would love to see, Xbox try to kind of open those doors. We've seen that in the past, where PlayStation have kind of tried to back them off with crossplay, online multiplayer, with, and Call of Duty had to kind of do it themselves afterwards, with their own infrastructure and say, if you guys aren't going to facilitate this, then we're going to facilitate it ourselves for fans, which, they've gone ahead and done, and it's been spectacular for Call of Duty. But yeah, it does kind of, the whole exclusive front does raise concerns, especially for PlayStation Devout. For me personally, who, has all the consoles, I'm in the boat where I'm privileged to kind of sit here and go, okay, if that's how it's going to be, then fair enough, I'll just turn on my Xbox if I have to. I don't care. So it's just, and for you who leans more towards Xbox, I'm pretty sure that this is some spectacular news in it for yourself. So
yeah, I love it. And like Xbox, like I know it is, so much of it is marketing spoof and stuff, but they are trying to be as pro-consumer as they can. The fact that you can get these games day one for $10 a month, so it allows people with maybe they aren't a core Xbox user, but if they've got the platform, they can just jump in when Elder Scrolls 6 drops or Wolfenstein Rah drops, pay that $10 monthly fee, smash that game out, and then cancel the subscription. So they get the game for 1/10 of the retail price.
Yeah.
Get the full experience on day one. So it's like, it gives you so much flexibility and to be conscious with your money. Like, the world is such an unknown place at the moment with COVID and things with job seeker and job security constantly just under the microscope with how the world could just turn to shit again. Being able to save some money with a service like that, I think it's awesome.
And especially for people who are new subscribers, they like usually do hey, you can have like a month for $2. And that's incredible, you know? So good on them for that. That's awesome. Moving on from that, and still talking about Game Pass though, this one comes by way of James over at Press Start, who says, Outriders confirmed to launch on day one on Xbox Game Pass, which is pretty big. While it was fairly obvious given the teasers earlier in the week, Microsoft has tonight confirmed that Outriders will be launching on Xbox Game Pass. When the game launches on April 1st, players will be able to sample it on Game Pass for console as well as Xbox game streaming on all Android devices. Unfortunately, it won't be available for Game Pass for PC. Launching on Android devices via Xbox game streaming is a boon for the game too, effectively allowing players to take their Outrider with them out and about everywhere they take their phone. So this is really cool. This is awesome. Did you enjoy the Outrider demo?
I did. I sort of tried to measure my expectations a little bit. I had fun with it. I didn't think it was the greatest, but the potential's there. I think it's going to live and die with its player base. Like soloing this, I've got no interest in it, but playing with two fellow Outriders, hell yeah. And now if I can jump on Game Pass, like, because I was talking to Benny about it, and he's like, I'm super keen to play. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be a day one thing for me. But then this popped up. I'm like, well, I'm in. Let's play. You know, I know where we're playing now.
It does look a little rough around the edges. I remember when I first booted into it, I thought to myself, man, they could really use a polish before they actually get the full version of this game going. It certainly looked like it was half PlayStation 3, half PlayStation 4 that I was playing at the time, and I was and that kind of concerned me. But at the same time, they really have to get it the net code perfect, especially for ongoing online multiplayer games. Our internet here is obviously not the best. It's not the worst. But it certainly needs to keep up with what is on screen as well. But given that circumstance, I would say that I was impressed by some of the more seamless action sequences that it entailed. But I'm kind of in the middle of what do I need to do for this game? Why is it not luring me completely? I'm not too sure just yet. Am I going to really be engaged? Am I going to be engrossed within this game?
Yeah.
So, it really has a lot of questions to answer right now. So, yeah.
I think I'll dabble. Like, I'll play a little bit at release, but I don't think this is going to become part of the core rotation, I think, because there's a full sort of campaign that you can play out, and then after that, that's the end of your story. So I think once I play through the campaign and maybe there might be some endgame stuff that trickles out later. Like I'll get the whole narrative and then I'll be like, yeah, I'm done. And you know what? For included in Game Pass, I'm happy with that. I got nothing to complain about.
Oh yeah, no, same here, man.
Like what you're hearing today? Be sure to follow All Dash Gamer Podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by simply typing dashgamer.com into the search bar of your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to check out our gaming, anime, and pop culture related news on dashgamer.com. Now, back to the show.
The next one comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says Square Enix is holding a digital showcase with game announcements and updates. He goes on, Square Enix has announced Square Enix Presents, which is a new digital event that will hopefully update us on some of Square Enix's most exciting properties. It'll be taking place on Friday the 19th in Australia. This particular edition of the event will bring new game announcements, including a new game in the Life is Strange series, an update on Outriders, Marvel Avengers, Balan Wonderland, Tomb Raider 25th anniversary, Just Cause Mobile, and some game announcements from Square Enix Montreal. And he goes on, so the times basically are listed here as well. So Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, 5 a.m. on Friday. In Adelaide, 4:30 a.m. Brisbane, 4 a.m. Darwin, 3:30 a.m. and in Perth, 3 a.m.
I'd just like to say I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. to watch this.
No.
I think they sort of blew their load too early. I don't think they should have announced everything they were going to show, because a lot of this, I'm like, I don't care about this mobile game. Like, I don't care about what's happening with Avengers now, which sucks because I was super hyped for it before it dropped. We just talked about Outriders. Like, what else are they going to show me that I can't wait 2 weeks for when this game comes out? So it's like,
the 25th
whatever.
anniversary of Tomb Raider. It's like, okay, that's leaked. They're going to be talking about the trilogy that of the rebooted series. So that's fine, but it's nothing that's going to get me up at 5 a.m. in the morning. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The one that I hate to talk about really is Life is Strange. I loved the first Life is Strange. I thought it was a fantastic game. Really kind of took out, borrowed elements of the Telltale establishment, the whole point and click adventure, choose your own path kind of deal, and had their own little spin on it with, being able to manipulate time and time travel and everything else. Then Life is Strange 2 came out. And, before that was Life is Strange Before the Storm, which was just bum. And then Life is Strange 2 came out, and I just lost all. I just lost anything that I loved about like Life is Strange. I didn't care. It wasn't as the stories weren't as well penned as they were as the first one. So, am I excited for Life is Strange 3 or whatever it might be? No. And considering the fact that it's rumored that Don't Nod Entertainment are not developing this one.
Yeah, see, that's the part that gives me a bit of pause. Is Tencent already getting involved? Because I know they bought a stake in them buggers recently.
They did.
I don't know. Like, it's a franchise that's got a devout following, and I'm with you. Like, the first one was
marvelous.
Narrative perfection. Like, you go through a range of emotions playing that game, and it can hit hard, and it tackles a lot of themes that for when that game came out, not many games and studios were sort of game to tackle or put front and center like it did. So it's still got the relevancy tick, and it's I'm still interested in it. But yeah, the fact that Don't Nod are a bit hands off on it, I'm like, what are we going to get here? And like, are we going to eventually get a graphical bump to this type of genre as well? Like, I know you're not there for the teraflops and the ray tracing, but like, give me something, man. Like, this looks like it could be played on my PS3 or my Xbox 360. You know what I mean?
That's why Life is Strange did come out on PS3. That was one of the last games to come out on PS3. So yeah, but you're right. It's concerning that Don't Nod, the fathering studio that basically initiated Life is Strange, are not having a creative hands-on approach to their series at the moment is just confounding. So, stop, Siri. It's okay, Siri. It's all right. Relax, Siri.
Go to bed, Siri.
It's confounding that they aren't having a hands-on approach to this creatively. And I don't like when I can't remember what the studio was that did Before the Storm. It was another independent studio. Deck 9 Games. When Deck 9 Games took over Before the Storm, I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance, but it really didn't feel like Life is Strange. Without those supernatural elements that were applied within the first one, it really just kind of fell to the wayside. And then when Life is Strange 2 kind of tried to force those supernatural elements, and you weren't in control of it, it just kind of made it lackluster, and I was just like, nah, not interested. So, well, we'll see what happens anyway. Brendan, the next one comes from Destructoid. This one comes from Chris Moist over at Destructoid. Moist. Resident Evil 2 remake. This is definitely up your alley. Resident Evil 2 remake actors will return for Netflix series Infinite Darkness. Even in darkness, a familiar voice can make all the difference, he says. Netflix has released new details regarding its upcoming CGI animation series Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, which will premiere on the TV movie streaming service later in 2021. The series will see two of Resident Evil's most likable heroes, Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield, cross paths once again when their individual investigations converge, pointing toward more shady conspiracies, reanimated horrors, and a zombie raid on the White House itself. In a very fan-pleasing piece of news, Netflix has confirmed that actors Nick Apostolides and Stephanie Panisello will be reprising their roles from 2019's excellent Resident Evil 2 remake, adding some immersive familiarity to the show's protagonists. You were a huge fan of Resident Evil 2 remake. I know that.
Oh yeah.
So you are hyped.
It's like the OG was like, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and then the remake was just like perfection. Yeah. And I like that they've got this continuity where maybe people that haven't played the games will watch this on Netflix and go, you know what, maybe I need to check out this game and see what all this zombie hullabaloo is about, and then jump in and hear the same voices and the same mannerisms. Like, okay, I like that. I like that it's not going to be jarring and it's going to be two different vocal stylings for these characters. The synopses you read is a lot better than the official synopses of the show. I'm happy with that because for anyone that hasn't played this franchise or heard about this upcoming Netflix special, don't read the official synopses. It is horrible. And like, if I hadn't played the games and known about the history, I'd probably give it a wide berth. It sounds so shithouse. So yeah, just get keen, because the animated sort of films that they've been doing from the Resident Evil universe over the last few years have been really friggin' good. They're night and day better than the live action ones that old W.S. Anderson's been churning out. But yeah, I'm keen. I like that they've sort of got the same people who lent their vocal talents to the game, and hopefully we see more of this in the future. Yeah,
I'm with you. I think that this is fantastic. There's a continuity in that, you know, keeping it faithful to the video game series or the video game franchise, at least the remake timeline of it. It's one of those things where obviously the concern of fans would be, hey, how faithful are they willing to keep it? This is proof. This is an example, a great example of how you do it. You know, these days I think that a lot of streaming services that are developing movies and animation and, you know, just even serialized shows really have their finger on a pulse in terms of creating content. And this is emphatic proof that they really are listening to fans and you know, who are wanting, you know, faithful connectivity within you know, the video games and adaptations.
Yeah, typically we don't, as gamers, our beloved franchises do not get treated with the most highest level of respect when they get translated to the big screen. We've seen many terrible films, not so many TV shows, but now we're starting to see them get churned out, and with a lot of production value and a lot of money and a lot of care. And it starts from not only the actors caring about the people they're portraying, but the writers and the directors diving deep on source material to make sure it is as close to a like-for-like comparison or a respectful adaptation as possible. And yeah, I'm so happy for that. You know, like, I rewatched the Witcher Netflix series again the other week, and it's so great. It is so great. And this brings me confidence that this series is just going to be equally as great. Like the Castlevania series that Netflix has done, like the 3 seasons of that have been like getting better every season as well. And we've got a Witcher animated series on the way, and we've got all these other game franchises getting some love on the big or the small screen, and I couldn't be happier.
It's funny that you mention The Witcher. I believe that's there's a reason that it was so fantastic. It's because most of the cast are devout fans of the video game series, especially Henry Cavill himself. He loves The Witcher.
He's the best. Yeah, I'm so in love with Henry Cavill. He's just a god among men.
Such a good man.
The fact that he's Geralt, and there's a strong rumor now that he's going to be Commander Shepard. You know, sign me up. Like, I'll watch him build PCs all day, every day. I'll subscribe. Like, he doesn't need the money, but I would pay to subscribe just to watch him and just bro down with him through the internet, because he's just the dudest of dudes.
He really is. There is another story that I forgot to actually put in the agenda, Brenda, and I'll just quickly read the title of it to get your thoughts. Tom Holland is already warning us that the Uncharted movie will be shit.
Yeah, that's a bit scary, but like, I'm taking this as a grain of salt, because he's been trolling the absolute bejesus out of us over the last couple of months, like with the Spider-Man film misdirects with the titles, and, you know, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the Andrew Garfield's definitely not in here. You know, there's so many swerves and so much memeing going on with his socials that I think he's just trying to do that to throw us off the scent, because I think it could be good. I think it could be fun.
Fingers crossed.
It could be a fun movie.
Apparently, he was too focused on his looks during production rather than acting, and that's kind of concerning in its own right. If his admission is true, then yeah, that does raise some concern for people who love Uncharted.
Yeah, like I'm a bit scared. I'm still just sad that they didn't just the short fan film that Nathan Fillion shot.
Oh yeah.
When he played Drake, like he is Nathan Drake, like
it really is.
And just throw some money at that and make it happen. But we're going the origin story. My biggest question mark is bloody Mark Wahlberg as Sully. Like,
oh yeah,
Mark Wahlberg's not the most he's not the best actor. I know he's done well for himself and whatever else, but like, he doesn't have that many commanding emotional performances. So we'll see what he brings to the table here with this.
Here's
movie.
the one. It's yeah.
Say hi to your mother for me. It's like, cool, man. No worries.
Well, it's funny considering the fact now that he's playing Sully. This is how long production cycle has gone for, and how long this film has been in production hell. He went from playing Nate in 2011, and now he's playing Sully.
Yeah, yeah, and because what was it? It was seven directors. I think they went through.
Correct.
It was over half a dozen of them, and obviously it's shooting's just about wrapped now, and they're going into post. But yeah, it's I don't know. I got hope. This isn't the video game movies of the 90s and 2000s. I feel we're going to get a little bit more weight to this.
I hope so, man. I hope you're right. The next one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says Bellin won the world's day one PS5, PS4 patch to address some demo issues. I don't know if you heard about this, Brendo, but apparently Bellin Won the World has had some issues within the demo that's been quite concerning. And I'll read what's happened basically. Bellin Won the World is quite something. And while we're putting a brave face on our recent hands-on preview, well, let's just say we're not overly optimistic about the final product. There is some reason to be positive though. An update from producer Noriyoshi Fujimoto has promised improvements will be made as part of the title's day one patch. According to the developer, the patch, quote, will adjust movement controls, camera movement, and rebalance the difficulty, end quote. Fujimoto further explained, quote, there's been a wide range of opinions and responses to the demo, and unfortunately at the current stage of development, it seems it simply isn't feasible to reflect every piece of feedback into the game, end quote. This is concerning.
It is concerning because it's the studio's first game release too, and it sounds like it's going to be a bit of a dumpster fire. Yeah. I've got no real skin in this game. Like, the art style looks pretty interesting. It just looks like a heap of bloody personas, if you ask me. Like,
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And that's what I thought at first when I was I'm like, I remember hearing about that game, and I watched some video earlier, and I'm like, oh, that's right, that's this game. And like, it's not for me. Like, it's a musical flair oriented platformer.
Yep. From
what I can understand, and yeah, okay, like a lot of costumes, apparently, like a lot of customization as far as look decking your character out the way you like. But like, I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's rough around the edges.
And the fact that they released this demo to try and build hype, and the demo was a mess.
Yeah.
I'd maybe wait till the release, the reviews come in and see what they've done, especially patching it out. Like, it comes out in 10 days. So
not the best in terms of initial impressions, that's for sure. I don't think many Australian outlets actually have their hands on it yet. So that's going to tell you something. But in terms of what we're explaining here, also Nabelian on Twitter actually put his 2 cents in as well. He says, Bellin Won the World's demo left such a negative impression on me that I pray that the game is some kind of high-level money laundering scheme.
That's not positive in any way, shape, or form. No. So maybe just keep your cash in your wallet at least till the 27th of March when you see the releases, the reviews coming out into the wild.
Just delay it though. Just delay it. If it's a dumpster fire, don't do it. Like, don't put potential risk to your launch title for your company in this much risk. And also, the PR for the publishers as well will go down the toilet. There's an establishment being made for developers, publishers, and everything else. If you actually put this, their reputation just has a downward spiral afterwards. And what happens? They'll only remember the one thing that you put out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So if you need to say sorry fans, but we're going to kick this down the line another month or 2 months or whatever, at least the game's going to come out in the way you envisioned it instead of this thing that might need multiple patches by the sounds of it. Like when they're talking about addressing difficulty and janky controls and camera, that doesn't sound like something that you'll be able to fix 10 days out from release, like in a good way. So, oh boy.
Yeah, exactly. The next one comes by way of Matt Wales over at Eurogamer, who says Rockstar officially implementing fan-made fix that massively reduces GTA Online load times. In the original story, Rockstar has confirmed it'll be releasing an update that officially implements a recent fan-made fix to reduce Grand Theft Auto's online painfully long load times by up to 70%. At the tail end of February, a programmer going by the name of Toast did a little probing into GTA's Online's notoriously protracted load times. Ones that leave players waiting upward of 5 minutes to start a game, and made a number of fascinating discoveries. In an update to this, GTA Online fan Toast has now said that his efforts to cut the game's PC load times have earned him $10,000. Quote, I just got awarded $10,000 through their H1 in-game bounty as an exception, usually only for security issues, end quote, Toast wrote in an update to his blog. Wow. Okay. There are a lot of programs, initiatives out there that are put out by manufacturers or even developers and studios. Sony has their hackers program, where basically if you're a hacker and you can find if you find a way to circumvent their software and you report it to them, you yourself can earn $10,000 if you report it.
I think it's great. I think it's great.
Yeah. So this is also amazing that not only was he awarded $10,000, but they actually paid to take the patch off him and implement it into their game.
Yeah, it's really good work by Rockstar, and honestly though, who doesn't love Toast? Toast is fantastic, and it's great to see it at sort of cutting people's load times down. The fact that it's 70% reduction potentially moving forward, like they haven't confirmed exactly when this patch is going to get officially rolled out, but it's cool that they're still working in with their player base to try and ensure that the copious amounts of billions of dollars they make off this game every year keep flowing. And the fact that they paid this person that highlighted this patch and said, yo, I've got this workaround. What do you think, Rockstar? Can you do anything about it? They went, yep, we can take that. And here's a sneaky 10,000 USD for your troubles. Like,
amazing.
Hell yeah. If I had any form of ability with coding and back-end sort of scripting and stuff like that, I'd be digging through these types of games all day, every day. I'd be trying to dig that 10 grand out somewhere. So
10 grand.
It's awesome. But yeah, shout out to Toast. I love Toast.
Cool. a cool $10,000 in his pocket, mate. I'll do the same. Exactly. The next one comes by way of Rebecca Valentine over at IGN, who says PlayStation communities on PS4 shutting down in April. She says first Miiverse, now this. Sony is preparing to shut down its PlayStation communities feature on PlayStation 4 next month, in seemingly one of the first moves by the company to gradually drop support for its older console. In a note on the PlayStation support page, Sony says that the PS communities will no longer be supported beginning April 2021. Though messaging and other features will still be available through the PlayStation app. PS Communities is a feature that lets PlayStation 4 users create or join groups based on interests. The groups are able to play games together or discuss their interests via message boards on the system. The feature was launched in 2015 and it already had its winding down signal last year, with the ability to create private communities removed, though public communities were still open. Look, here are my quick thoughts is that forums are a dead thing. They're a thing of the past. Well, no, I shouldn't say they're a dead thing. They're a thing of the past. They're passe more than anything. People scour forums these days for torrents more than anything online. Now with communities being like a third-party forum developed by a first-party system in PlayStation, it really did feel passe when they even introduced it. And I rarely used it. I think I joined the Kind of Funny one when I was still an avid listener of the Kind of Funny podcast series, and even then I really never paid any attention to it. I even actually turned off all alerts on the communities because I wasn't really interested in engaging in them. I turned on my console to play games, didn't want to be interrupted while playing games.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in a boat that kind of says I'm glad that they're kind of ditching it, because I think their efforts could be put into, rolling out updates and patches for potentially, hardware failing software. But at the same time, there is a base. There is I read responses from fans who are actually devastated that they're removing communities from PlayStation 4 and not introducing it on PlayStation 5, which is quite an interesting response.
Yeah, it's surprising to me. Like, I'm with you. Like, this is not in my wheelhouse at all. Like, I want to play my games either by myself or if I'm playing with people, it's with friends that I know. Like, I don't want to jump on some random Sony message board and be like, hey, Joe Schmo 27, you want to come play with me? Oh, I can't right now, but if you wait 2 hours, it's like, fuck that. My mood's gone from gaming by then. It's like, I want to play like when I want to play. And at the same time, I think these types of communities, like I think Discords are almost the new community, you'd say. Like the amount of Discords that are out there for anything you could ever imagine in life, it's there, and you can post on there. You go on online, you're looking for squad mates, whatever it is. Like that's where it is, and then that's, as you said, like it's one less thing that a Sony then has to focus on. Like they can put all their attention and R&D into these magical banana controllers that they're trying to release into the wild eventually. So they can shift all that R&D money into fruit-based peripherals down the line, and just let places like Discord flourish, because that platform is just going from strength to strength. It feels like it's huge now.
Are you surprised that Discord hasn't actually been bought out by like Microsoft or even Sony themselves to implement into their systems?
I am a little bit like especially because there is in air quotes integration with Microsoft or Xbox and Discord, but it just ties into showing what game you're playing. Like I thought at first, I'm like, oh yeah, you can use that as your phone, like your call hub and your party hub. But I think it's only a matter of time before they have some type of embedded integration. But then I guess it's risky where there's potential vulnerabilities on the Discord side that Sony and Microsoft can't police and enforce. So they just have it under the Sony or the Microsoft banner. But yeah, I could see them getting bought out for sure, because it's such, like, you think about the amount of players that are on Discord, and then they chuck one, like if Sony bought them, they have just one random ad up there, Sony sale, blah, blah, blah. Like the amount of clicks that they'd get through on that would be in the, the tens of millions. And it's
I honestly think Xbox sales might be the first ones to snatch them up, based on the fact that, they're obviously, they're just throwing money left, right, and center at the moment at all these studios. But to integrate a feature like Discord on the Xbox Series X, it would just kind of blow everybody's mind and blow everybody away, saying, shit, look what they just did. They bought up Discord.
It wouldn't surprise me, like, if someone does make a play, and I could certainly see Microsoft being the one out of the two. Like, Nintendo, no way. No way in hell would they ever buy this company. But Sony or Xbox, I could see it happening.
Yeah, same. Speaking of Nintendo, the next one comes by way of Joe Screbbles over at IGN, who says Nintendo reportedly expecting another record year for software with a series of major games. He goes on, Nintendo is reportedly expecting to ship 250 million units of software in its next fiscal year, comfortably beating its existing all-time records, thanks to a lineup of mostly unconfirmed blockbuster games. Per anonymous sources of Bloomberg, Nintendo has briefed some partners and suppliers on its expectations for April 2021 to March 2022, and sets expectations of shipping 250 million games. That's a huge number, and it's seemingly driven by what Bloomberg calls, quote, a series of marquee game releases. Marquee game releases, and what analyst Circun Toto calls a much stronger blockbuster software lineup and new hardware, end quote. Cool. Look, this more falls in line with, I think, the potential of the Switch Pro coming soon. 250 games, and they're trying to hype up the fact that they're going to beat financials from the last fiscal year. For me, that spells, okay, there's new hardware coming. I am on the fence about a Switch Pro. The fact that Nintendo have now launched the Switch and it's succeeded so well, my issue now is are they going to be releasing hardware and being in last place every time, because this is an issue that's ongoing and they can't keep doing this to their fan base and to gamers who really want to play a Super Mario game, 4K, whatever it may be, 60 frames per second. These are all features now that are industry standard and we shouldn't be waiting for Nintendo to basically say, you can wait while we get our shit sorted. Wait till we get our house in order before we can actually provide 4K 60 frames per second. If they weren't able to do that with the Switch, they should have waited before they, lumped it. But I believe that the Wii U did not have that much time. Like the Wii U was dying, it was already dead. Nintendo didn't have that much time left to, they had to rush out a Switch. But it just kind of, not aggravates me, it annoys me now that we're waiting for an updated system.
Yeah, like, I agree. Like, I think Nintendo, like we were talking about how Microsoft and Sony are sort of going two different directions. I think like if you chuck Nintendo in, they're all got like they're on three very different paths as far as how they go to market and their player base and their focuses. And Nintendo, it's clear that they're not too concerned about having the most grunt under the hood. Like we're talking about, 4K 60 frames is sort of the industry standard, you could say. But like, it wouldn't surprise me if Nintendo came out and said like, oh, don't worry about 4K, we're 3.1K because that actually translates to, Mario in March 10th, like just to be quirky and be unique and whatever, how they are. Like they do things to the beat of their own drum, and they're never going to try and keep up with the big two as far as processing power and teraflops and everything else. And like, even if they brought out a Switch Pro, like I'm happy with my Switch.
Same.
Like to get a slight resolution bump or like a slightly bigger screen, it's like, is that really, is that really going to drive me to buy one of these? Like, not really. Like I barely play my Switch as it is, and that's not a shot of the hardware. I love the platform and what it can do for you, but like, it's maybe I'm a different kind of consumer with the Switch.
No. You're right. You're right on the money, I believe. And look, I'd have to get one regardless because of what I do. But it's just one of those things that kind of annoys me that Nintendo continuously are behind on everything, and they kind of pride themselves on it a little bit. And like you said, they love the novelty act, and for me, it's becoming more of a gimmick than what it is novelty, and they need to stop doing that. So, anyway, that's food for thought. That's actually just my thoughts on it. The next one comes by way of Wesley LeBlanc over at IGN, who says, Modder turns Christopher Nolan's toy Tenet into a 5-cartridge Game Boy Advance movie. Have you heard of this?
I have. This is absolutely ludicrous, but I love it. I'm all about it.
So the reason I found out first was because Ian, our good friend Ian from the States.
Ian Prichell.
Yeah, Ian Prichell is actually Bob Wolf's editor. He's video editor. So this is how I found out. But the story goes on. A modder has turned Christopher Nolan's Tenet into a 5-cartridge Game Boy Advance video movie for some reason. YouTuber Bob Wolf, who posted a video about this Tenet mod to his Wolf Den YouTube channel, called his video, quote, "I put Tenet on a GBA video cartridge out of spite," as originally reported by Engadget. This is likely an allusion to Nolan's persistence that Tenet be watched in a theater despite a global pandemic. I love it because, Nolan and I believe another director, I can't remember who it was, turned around and said, "Hey, you should be watching movies in the cinema. Don't worry about this pandemic. Go to the movies." What?
Shut up, Nolan. Yeah. You know, like he's in his own Inception mental multiverse where in the reality he's living in, COVID's probably not a thing, but I think this is fantastic. Like, it's split across 5 cartridges. You're definitely not watching it for the graphical fidelity because it's capped at like 6 frames a second and it can only stream at like 8 kilobits a second. So it's a low res, low frame rate film, but power to this dude for putting it together. Like, That's some next level stuff. Like, he's probably hanging out with that Toast dude. Like, him and Toast are probably blowing down after their hacking and modding exploits. So, good on him.
I got to give it to Bob Wolf. He's actually quite innovative in terms of like some of his videos as well. Very cool. And obviously having such a talent like Ian behind him editing his stuff as well is amazing. But the idea of actually splitting up a movie and placing it on a GBA, 5 GBA cartridges in low res to spike Christopher Nolan and make it into like make it trend. That's hilarious. I gotta give it to him.
I'm not at all surprised. Like, the world is just a strange place. Nothing surprised me anymore. Like, we talk banana controllers. We've got Tenet on the game, like on a Game Boy Advance cartridge. Like, what's next?
Yeah,
what is
next,
I
will tell you what's next. And it's our final story of the night. This one comes by way of Joseph Noop over at IGN, who says, Zelda Breath of the Wild becomes a first-person game in newly discovered glitch. Have you heard this, Brendo?
I have.
Yeah, this is amazing. Modders, once again, another story about modders. Modders have already created some first-person camera. For Breath of the Wild, but one player has managed to figure out a glitch that should, in theory, let anyone look at Hyrule from a totally different perspective. As reported by Kotaku, Twitter user A.XK managed to discover a specific button input that would trigger the camera to clip down to a roughly first-person view. And they have a GIF of the view below. This is amazing. I know that... oh god, I hate you, Paul. Seriously, but Padge has insisted that Breath of the Wild being a shitty Witcher in the first place, and then like, but this makes it a lot more like an Elder Scrolls kind of experience in a way. I really do like the potential of Nintendo making it official if they ever really wanted to. A first-person Zelda game, that's insane, especially Breath of the Wild.
I'd certainly entertain that. Like, I'm not the biggest Zelda guy. I thought Breath of the Wild was fine. Yep. I didn't think it was anywhere near as amazing as a lot of games media and game fans said. And, that's your opinion. This is mine. Like, there's no right or wrong answer, except Horizon Zero Dawn was a better game that released that year. But, like looking at these GIFs of showing it in first person, like, I'm like, damn, I could get behind this, because just being that much closer to the action, it adds like this additional layer of drama. And I'm like, I'd give that a go. Like, if they released this as a first-person option, like they're talking about potentially patching this out. So you've got to sort of try this little button combination while you can to give it a spin. But it looks cool. It looks like it adds to the tension. And if I can feel a little bit more scared and a little more helpless, I'd be down for that, because just Breath of the Wild just was like, it's fine. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. Especially those who may have played Horizon side by side with Breath of the Wild. I equally love both titles just the same. I think they both got their own respective traits that made them amazing. And for the fact that now you can play it in first person, I would love to go back and play. Like, I've been hanging to go back and play Breath of the Wild again since launch. I haven't played it since launch, and I would love to. Yeah, I'd love to experience Breath of the Wild in first person, especially like the Ganon fight. That'd be amazing in first person. I definitely would be intrigued to see what it would be like. Yeah, definitely.
Get in there and press that combination of buttons to trigger that little glitch and. Run through. Yeah, that's it.
The Game Review.
All right, Brendo, thanks to the kind folk over at Activision Australia. I got my hands on Crash Bandicoot 4 for the PlayStation 5, which is also the same update that they had put out for the Xbox Series X. Obviously, with some minor differences between the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X in terms of the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback in the controller. But I got to tell you, Crash 4 on PlayStation 5 is insane. I loved Crash 4 on PS4 Pro. I thought it was marvelously created, by Toys for Bob. Obviously, with Vicarious Visions doing the trilogy beforehand, I would have expected them to kind of carry that over and continue development on Crash 4. But giving first hand to Toys for Bob was an interesting move by Activision, but it paid off tremendously well. I've got an example up on screen for viewers right now of the VOD, and they can see some of the updates that have been made in terms of just aesthetics, graphics.
It's so pretty.
Oh,
it pops. It pops on next gen or current gen, whatever you want to classify it as now. Like it was a gorgeous game. Like I played it on my Pro as well, and it was stunning and vibrant, and it was popping. But yeah, looking at it now, like I haven't picked it up on 5 or my X yet, but it looks gorgeous. Like I'm a fan. I like what they did. I think it was a great entry to the franchise.
Oh, it was fantastic. And the thing is, like, for those who already own it on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, they have that free upgrade, which is awesome. Now, I've been playing it on PlayStation 5, and some of the differences that they have done on PS5 obviously have pertain to this bad boy right here, the DualSense controller. Obviously, entailing adaptive triggers and haptic feedback within the controller, it allows more of an immersive gameplay experience within Crash. You know, you get, while you're kind of exploring some of the areas with more Dingo Dial and Cortex, you get the sensations of pressure through the triggers. You don't really get it much when you're playing Crash himself, you know, just traversing islands and stuff, but you do get that with more of the assistance or the cast, the more of the arranged in cast of characters that are available within Crash 4. But I tell you, like you said, it pops a lot more than what it does on the regular PS4. And the thing is, like, with that, they've also made sure that load times are also drastically increased. Like, there is no load times at all now on the PlayStation 5 version or the Xbox Series X version. I actually feel like maybe the Xbox Series X version has the edge out of the two. I think that their load times are almost non-existent on the Xbox Series X. It's unreal. There is slight load times on the PlayStation 5, but nothing that it's noticeable, and very much so from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. But yeah, the fact that it can load a level that fast and immediately you're in it. For somebody who was a huge Crash Bandicoot fan back in the day and used to love his Crash Bandicoot Warped and everything, and the amount of time it used to take to load a level, it's astounding. It's awesome to see that. If anything, like it gobsmacked me entering a level and being like, oh, it's already started. Okay, here we go. So I was fascinated by some of the improvements that have been made now for the quote unquote next gen version of Crash 4.
Do you think they subcontracted in Toast, who did the stuff for GTA on those load times? Maybe he's got his hand in these pies as well. You know, he's keeping busy. He's probably got a bit more than 10K to do it for Crash, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Man, Toast are just, you know, getting through some of these load times on all these games, man. That would be incredible. Now, I will kind of address a couple of concerns I had when I picked up the Nintendo Switch version. So I actually purchased the Nintendo Switch version myself because I really wanted to kind of see the disparities between each version. Switch version runs so good, and I was surprised. Now, I will say that there is a little bit of jank in terms of some of the menus and some of the load screens, but the in-game presentation, the demonstration that it has in-game, not an issue, runs smooth. Graphics obviously would be a little bit on the lower res side due to the fact that the Switch outputs 1080p and being just slightly underpowered in terms of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, obviously. So it's more of the PlayStation 4 version. I wouldn't even say that. I'd say it's slightly lower than that, but the fact that it's portable and it plays the way it does, it's an amazing, amazing port of the game on the Switch. And for those who aren't capable of, you know, getting their hands on a PS5 or an Xbox Series X at the moment, and do have their hands on the Switch and want to really pick up this game, I would highly recommend it on the Switch for sure. It's really done its job for the Switch. So I was very impressed. So
nice, man.
Yeah, man. So once again, thank you so much to the kind folk over at Activision Australia who kindly provided a review code for both Crash Bandicoot 4 on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X.
God damn. Nice work, Activision.
Global gaming releases.
All right, Brendo. time to talk about the global gaming releases for the next fortnight. There is a lot.
I'm strapped in. It's a list. It's a list. Lucky I got some tea left.
I'll just roll out the scroll, mate. It's just freaking huge. All right, here we go. So, for those we just spoke about, Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is now available on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC right now, so make sure you pick it up. Mundawn, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, March 16th. Star Dynasty's Steam Early Access on PC, March 16th. Stubbs, the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, March 16th. Signs of the Sojourner? Yep, okay, cool. PS4, Switch, Xbox One, March 17th, 18th, and 19th. Cartel Tycoon, Steam, Early Access, PC, March 18th. Neurodeck, PC, Switch, March 18th. Can't Drive This, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Switch, March 19th. Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville, Complete Edition, Switch, March 19th. Turn pages over. Tanch, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, March 23rd. Tales from the Borderlands on Nintendo Switch, March 24th, after like a 5-year sabbatical off all services. Paradise Lost, PC, PS4, Xbox One, March 24th. Dandy Ace on PC, March 25th. Black Legend, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Switch, March 25th. Crash Bandicoot On the Run, Android and iOS, March 25th. Kaze and the Wild Mask, PC, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and Stadia, March 26th. Evil Genius 2, World Domination on PC, March 30th. It Takes Two, PC, PS4, Xbox One, March 26th. Really excited for that one. Monster Hunter Rise on Switch, March 26th. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, March 26th. Balan Wonderworld, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and Switch, March 26th. Doom 3 VR Edition, PSVR, March 29th. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix. And I'll keep reading. Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue on PC. Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind plus Remind on PC. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory on PC. Narita Boy PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. All available March 30th. Disco Elysium, The Final Cut, PC, PS4, and PS5. No confirmed date yet, but in March. So there you go. That is a long
it's a lot of games, and I found it quite humorous that there's only one Stadia announcement out of about 700 games. Yeah. Only one of them are going to Google's failed platform.
Well, you wonder why they're closing it down.
Yes, but you can play Kaze and the Wild Masks on it on March 26th. Go figure.
Yeah, fantastic. Jesus, I wonder what happens to all the people that actually paid for like the service, especially like the controllers and all that. That is sad.
It's just some nice looking paperweights now, sadly.
Fantastic. Like the Ouya.
I don't think Google is refunding those purchases.
You mean like my Ouya? Nice place paperweight. Jesus Christ. Thanks to the kind folk who are also our executive producers for the month. Brendan White, Ewan Hosey.
That's me.
Drew Agnew and Kat B. You too can be an executive producer of the Dash Gamer podcast by heading to dashgamer.com/Ko-fi, donating as little as $2 a month and get your name read out at the end of every podcast. Guys, this has been the Dash Gamer podcast, our bi-weekly gaming podcast where we get together with the boys, talk about the latest in the world of video gaming. You can follow Mr. Brendan White on Twitter at Brendan8bit. You can follow myself on Twitter at Dash Gamer. You can follow Brendan also all over the socials at We Are 8bit. On YouTube, We Are 8bit, all the 8-bit goodness. So make sure you check out The Hungry Game Show and The Hungry Gamers. Don't forget to follow the Dash Gamer podcast over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com. And on YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. It helps us out. Brendo.
Yeah.
It's been amazing to have you as a host for this episode.
It has felt really good. Episode 24 might go down in history as one of the best Dash Gamer podcast episodes of all time.
Damn
so
straight.
I'm looking forward to coming back in about a month's time. The back end of April, I'm coming in for my third tour of duty, and I cannot wait.
Fantastic, and I can't wait for you to return, that's for sure. But guys, I'll see you in 2 weeks with Mr. Ryan Betson right here on the Dash Game podcast. I'll see you next week for Operation PlayStation with Padge. Definitely some interesting conversations to be had there. But until then, stay safe, take care, wash your hands as well, please. We're still in a pandemic, and wear your masks. Wash your hands, wear your masks. Remember that you're in a pandemic, because not many people are remembering that moment, which is sad, which just sucks.
And much love, stay humble, stay hungry.
dashgamer.com